The Home stars Pete Davidson as Max, a troubled, 30-ish year old who never dealt with the suicide of his foster brother Luke, who is always getting into trouble and wasting his life away. Growing up in a foster family, Max relied on Luke like a brother, and the loss of Luke sends Max on a downward spiral. On a night where Max is painting graffiti on the side of a building, he's arrested and spends the night locked up. Max's foster father, played by King of Queens star Victor Williams, talks to the judge and convinces him to send him to work at an assisted living home for the elderly upstate as a porter, cleaning up after all the residents. When Max gets there, he's welcomed with open arms by the community, and as he's told what he's supposed to do on a day-to-day basis, they tell him that the only stipulation concerning his time at the home is to never go on to the 4th floor, where all the patients there need a special kind of treatment. After being there a few nights and having intense nightmares, he starts to hear violent screams coming from the 4th floor. Of course, he goes to investigate, but what he finds changes his view of not only the staff of the home, but also the residents living there. The film is directed by James DeMonaco, creator, writer, and director of the Purge franchise. The film is also written by DeMonaco and co-written by Adam Cantor, who I've actually never heard of. I say this all the time, but I'm not a huge fan of horror. It feels all the same to me in one way or another, and usually there is no real meaning behind a lot of these quick written stories that are made just to gross out, freak out, or shock audiences, which is fine if that's what you're into, but for me, if I watch a horror movie to enjoy it, it has to have some depth to it. The Home does a few things really well. The assisted living facility feels very nightmarish, almost like an insane asylum. And honestly, because a lot of these facilities in real life are run so cheaply, it feels plausible. The residents feel like victims of the conditions of the home and the staff to a certain degree, and the home feels very old and run down. The sound design is disturbing, from the screams coming through the air vent to the sound of paint being painted on a canvas and a sickening sound of lips smacking. The problem, though, is that these purposeful sounds, or at least some of them, don't relate in any way to the story being told. They're there to just be disturbing and cringy, I guess, which is fine, I guess, but it feels a little lazy at times. The acting here isn't anything outstanding. It's also not horrible. Pete Davidson is, pretty much Pete Davidson, a guy from the East Coast, pretty much playing himself. If this situation happened to him, and if you like Pete Davidson, you'll enjoy his performance as himself. I enjoyed him at times because it was one of those what if you put Pete Davidson in the situation kind of things. Probably not what the film was going for, but I was okay with that. John Glover is in this film, a guy who I haven't seen since Gremlins 2, The New Batch, or the movie Scrooged.
Listen, I call the meal breaks around here.
Oh, Frank, I'm sorry. Look, if it means that much to you, I'll call everybody back and you can tell them it's time to go to dinner. Hey, everybody, hold on a minute. Frank's got something to say to you. Go ahead.
His performance was probably my favorite as one of the residents of the home who is a retired actor and teaches music and acting to the other residents. His character was very endearing, and then he takes a dramatic turn when he sort of loses his mind. And it was a convincing depth of acting for this kind of film, and I just enjoyed watching him play out his character's choices. Bruce Altman plays Dr. Sabian, who, if you've seen him in any other film, he's always this shady character. And of course, he's shady here too. Wasn't a big surprise. You can't put actors who play these types of characters all the time in this type of horror whodunit and not expect people to see him right away for who he is as one of the bad guys, who will ultimately be responsible for what's going on. The film does a great job keeping you on your toes, and honestly, I had no idea where they were going with this. The film messes with you and tries to convince you of one thing and does another thing to throw you off, which you find out becomes part of the storyline, which I thought was pretty clever and also pretty psychotic and pretty mean. The problem, though, is when you get to what's actually going on, it sort of becomes a few films that you've seen before. If I name them, it would probably give away the ending, so I won't name those movies here, but that's sort of the point. I shouldn't be able to really name a movie or two and you instantly know where the ending is going. And the why of everything isn't very smart. It's just what it is. The writer-director isn't trying to say anything in particular, except, well, that situation sucks, I guess. The worst thing about this movie is the Scooby-Doo villain exposition breakdown where the bad guy has to tell the victim why he's doing what he's doing in detail for 20 minutes. The worst thing about this movie is the Scooby-Doo villain exposition breakdown where the bad guy has to tell the victim why he's doing what he's doing in detail for like 20 minutes. If this was a real situation, there would be no explaining. If you were the bad guy, why would you? What's the point? I hate this kind of writing because it's so obvious that it's only there for the audience to understand everything and breaks the realism of the immersive experience that you should be having in a scary film, right? It kind of treats the audience like idiots, like we have to be told everything, and we can't figure it out on our own. This film felt more like one of those PlayStation VR horror games like The Inpatient than a film, or more like watching your friend play The Impatient. The end of the film is wildly bonkers, and I wasn't expecting where the writer went with this film. I can't decide if I liked it or not, or if it just became a totally different film altogether. It goes insane, taking the training wheels off, but at the very end of the scene, it sort of plays it safe when it comes to Max's family. It's kind of a messy film that I think had a pretty good idea, but honestly, it didn't make me feel good how they portrayed the elderly. The Home is a horror whodunit that is full of surprises, but a lot of letdowns. It has a lot of creepy moments and twists and turns to keep you confused, but the payout in the end wasn't, for me, worth the wait. There are some decent performances here, and I didn't mind Davidson playing himself, but all in all, it was just sort of an average movie that doesn't give you anything new or really that entertaining. I'm giving The Home 2 stars out of 5 for all these reasons. It is rated R for violence, very bloody images, language, and disturbing images. It releases Friday the 25th, so let me know if you're heading out to see this film or any film this weekend. We've got a few. Fantastic Four, Oh Hi, and in some theaters Together, which I'm about to review here in a bit. Oh, and Happy Gilmore 2 is coming to Netflix. Please don't suck. Thank you to all of you who make this channel what it is. I love getting to know you in the comments, so drop me a comment if you are so inclined. Like and subscribe for all the latest films hitting theaters, and remember, don't wait till it streams. Let's go to the theater and let's see it together.
Sometimes, when things are bad on the outside, we have to look on the inside.